It's funny to hear that in some states they're banning the book Fahrenheit 451. It was literally a book about what happens when you ban books. It's fascinating. They're nuts. Here we go. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. This is the Learn with John Eick podcast, and it is day 104, maybe, on my 180-day drive to work and school, the place where I kind of dig what I'm doing. And I'm just laying down these thoughts for like 104 days in a row. I'm starting to wonder if I'm recycling material. I don't know. You would know, because clearly you're the one listening. I'm just the one talking. I should go back and listen. And figure out if what I'm saying makes any sense. I certainly do appreciate you. Just shout out to you. Much love. I throw this little recording on podcast thing. I dig that. I'm more of a podcast guy. I throw on the YouTubes too, in case anybody wants to drive to work on the video. I think the video's not as good, but I'll keep doing it. What do I care? I'm just having fun. I want to talk today, I guess, as it applies to this idea of being an early adopter, because I think I've dropped some nuggets recently on like, hey, I've tried out, Chat GPT, and I've tried out this, hey, look, I opened an ST account and connected it to the thing, and it's all just clicks and buttons. So like, what's the big deal? Just click the buttons and clickety click. Well, you say that, but in reality, like, if the clickety click's not your area of early adopterness, then it can be a little intimidating, and I get that, because I work in a school business, right? And I watch different tools roll out into the school business and different rates of adoption, of those tools. You go to some school and, like, my school, real talk, is so googly. They're so willing to, like, oh, let's create a docket, jump on the docket, share the docket, collaborate on the doc, and then build a set of slides, link it to the doc, a spreadsheet that creates some data that auto-populates the slideshow with a pie chart. And you're like, yeah, man, like, these people are like all kind of neck deep in a willingness to like make things happen on the clickety clicks, on the digital. Okay, check. Okay, so that's symptomatic of a organizational culture that is influenced by applause for being an early adopter, maybe. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's it, right? It's like it's okay to fail in that organization. So being okay with failure means okay with trying new things, being okay with asking for help. That maybe that's a cultural piece at that particular organization, and therefore that's why people are willing to try new things, because they're willing to ask for help. Okay, check. But like, it dawns on me as I go out and do different things, like coach softball for my daughter's softball team, which is hilarious. So, right, I really don't have a lot of business being a softball coach, except that I got 25 years experience working with kids, but I don't know much about softball. I mean, I know which end of the bat to hold, but as I go out and I go, hey, you guys need a coach? Really? Ask 3 times, because I don't want to say yes, honestly. But okay, you need an assistant coach? I'm your guy. Put me in, coach. I'm your guy. As I go out and do that, I go, okay, well, what am I willing to do? Well, I'm willing to try anything. I'm willing to try hard. I'm willing to do whatever's asked of me. Is that early adopterness, or is that just like, some form of like, oh yeah, that guy's nuts, he'll do anything? I don't know. But what I recognize is I am obviously kind of an early adopter of like tech, clickety click, I'll try anything. And people have different expertise. People have different mindsets, and those mindsets maybe include areas of a willingness to early adopt something that I'm not willing to early adopt. And I'm interested by that. I'm intrigued by that, because I think the term early adopter means a willingness to engage in the process of trial and error and failure, and then eventual success in what I would consider like an innovative area. So typically an early adopter, you're adopting something that's new, right? So what are the innovation areas that you're willing to explore and try out? Like, I've obviously this innovative area of artificial intelligence and it's language rich interfaces like Chat GPT. I'm like, yeah, let's dive into that, check it out. I'm really interested in that. But it's interesting, because I was talking to a dude the other day who's a pediatrician, and he's like, look, man, I tell coaches, this guy was talking to this guy about softball. He's like, I tell coaches, hey, this is a really engaging way to speak to young boys and girls in the area of athletics. And some of the people are willing to be like, I'll try that out. And some people are like, yeah, thanks for the advice. And this pediatrician says, look, if you praise the kids, and this is kind of a Carol Dweck growth mindset piece, if you praise the kids for performance, then, you know, the first shot of that adrenaline is awesome. Your coach is like, high five, great job, you hit the ball, you're awesome. But that first high is the greatest high, and it'll eventually wear off, because that, no matter how much you praise them for performance, they'll never reach that first high again. He says what you want to do is create ways for the child to be intrinsically motivated, and so therefore you set up structures, or he didn't say set up, that's totally my language. He says you interact with them in ways that make them reflect on whether or not they're proud of themselves. So instead of saying, oh, I'm so proud of you, great job, say things like, hey, you must be really proud of yourself, man, for, like, I know you struck out, but, like, you went down swinging on that third strike. You swung at the ball, and I know you were frustrated last time because you watched the third strike just go by, but this time you swung at the ball and struck out. You must be feeling pretty proud. Are you feeling proud of yourself? Putting the onus back on them to identify, well, yes, I guess I do feel some sense of pride, and so therefore motivation becomes intrinsic, and that intrinsic motivation helps these young athletes, excel. Okay, why am I telling you that story? Well, I think it's because I think this pediatrician in my neighborhood who's involved with softball, he's like sharing that nugget of knowledge with lots of people. But you got to be willing to, I guess, adopt that new way of thinking. And I hear people out there, who are like, well, when I was a kid, we never got participation trophies, so I'm just gonna tell the kids they're good when they do good, and I'm gonna tell the kids they're dumb when they do dumb. And you're like, well, how'd you turn out? I'm just kidding. I'm not saying, I don't know if one way's right or one way's wrong. That's not what I'm saying. You do you. But what I am saying is, when given a piece of evidence that something could be done differently, if the initial reaction is like, I'm not willing to try that, then you're not an early adopter of that thing. But if you are willing to try something because it looks like it might be beneficial, then you might be an early adopter. And then that goes for anything, right? 100%. Someone could say to me, oh my gosh, the grocery store just came up with a new coupon methodology where you don't have to clip coupons anymore, but you get this barcode tattooed on your face, and then every time you walk into the store, you get 25 cents off on cream cheese. And I'd be like, I'm just not that interested. Like, I'm just not a couponer. I should be, though, because I know you can save money on it. I feel stupid for saying this. I'm just not a coupon person. I don't know why. I always feel standing at the register, I feel cheap. Who cares, right? I should be a couponer, but I'm not. So I wouldn't be an early adopter. But there's people out there that'd be like, yeah, what? There's a new way of saving 25 cents on cream cheese? Put me in, coach. I ain't no dummy. I'm not gonna buy full price cream cheese if there's a discount to be had, right? So in that case, yeah, I'm an early adopter on Google spreadsheets, but I ain't saving 25 cents on cream cheese. And that other person over there who's willing to do something a little different to get a little something that they're after, they're smarter than me. They're an early adopter of saving 25 cents on cream cheese. It's a really strange example, but the point I'm getting at is, I think we should all be willing to recognize our areas of early adopterness and be like, yeah, I'll take a little pride in that. And recognize it when it's happening. Recognize that, oh yeah, this is one of those moments right now. This is one of those moments that I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm all in. Let's do this, right? Recognize when you are all in. Gosh, that brings me down the rabbit hole of a whole other thought, and that is recognize if you're all in and the data you've been provided is probably not beneficial. People who got in early on the QAnon thing, I'm like, maybe you should check that thing out. Sorry if you're a QAnon person, I apologize. I'm just riffing. The point is, I think we're all prone to early adoption in certain areas, and it would benefit us to know which areas we're early adopters on. There are teachers out there, since we're mostly edu folk in this chat, there are teachers out there that are like, we're early adopters of like this concept of social emotional readiness and being like, hey man, I want my kids to understand their self-awareness, their social awareness, responsible decision-making structures. Like, there are people who are early adopters on like classroom structures, that like flexible furniture that now we all see as like, oh gosh, that was a great opportunity to create student like agency over our own learning for students, and somebody had to be an early adopter on that. Hey, I love this. I don't know if you guys much out of today, but I like this idea. I'm gonna go scratch around my brain bucket and be like, hey, where am I an early adopter, and where do I see other early adopters around me, so that I can identify that for them. Like, hey man, you're an early adopter, and I want to like point that out, even if it's not in like what in the most traditional sense of like early innovations and things that are coming online. All right, hey, my name's John Eick. You can find me on the Twitter at John_Eick. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.